Don't you want to become a cult leader? Since the death of God, there's been a vacancy open. You could fill that void. Here's how.
Hi there, it's your favorite ex-Jehovah's Witness, Wordly Sam. Welcome to my 6-part series where I'll be diving into how the founding fathers of the JWs, who are none other than Charles Taze Russell and Joseph Franklin Rutherford, created the groundwork for the cult as we know it today. As a blueprint for my series, I'll be using the format of the hit Netflix show, How to Become a Cult Leader, to help break this down. Without further ado, let's jump right in. The perfect cult leader is one born a pathological narcissist who believes they've got something special that no one else has. Charles Taze Russell didn't just think he had a religious interpretation. He believed he was restoring the one true understanding of the Bible. Not only that, but he proclaimed mainstream Christianity to be corrupt and spiritually blind. In his 6-volume series, Studies in the Scriptures, he basically trained his followers to believe that his writings were essential for understanding the Bible correctly. When his successor Joseph Franklin Rutherford took over after Russell passed, he then proclaimed that the organization itself was God's only channel. Before a cult leader delivers their message with conviction, they have to spend time adopting a belief system that works for them by finding gold nuggets and other belief systems. Russell's theology was literally a blend of movements that already existed: Adventist end times predictions, anti-hellfire theology, biblical literalism, and prophetic timelines, such as 1914. So he didn't invent much, he just did a little remix, a little reinterpretation here and there on pre-existing stuff. But this paved the way for the normalization of continuous updates in JW doctrine for when predictions didn't pan out. Some of the most infamous of those predictions that went belly up is 1874, 1914, 1925, and 1975. How a cult leader chooses to present themselves to the world can make all the difference. Make a strong enough impression with a side of charisma, and they can have people believing they can do the impossible. Now, Russell and Rutherford brought two very different flares to the JWs. Russell was known affectionately as Pastor Russell, thought of as gentle, even intellectual. Unironically, he also gave off a natural teacher vibe with his newspaper sermons and public lectures. Rutherford, on the other hand, was aggressive, bold, and confrontational. No thanks to his legal background, they gave him his authoritative edge. He also did radio broadcasts and public campaigns, all while making sure the audience knew his stance as a spokesman for God's judgment. So, in other words, while Russell perfected the art of rizzing the fuck out of people, Rutherford laid down the law. A cult leader is almost instinctively on the lookout for the open-minded and the idealistic. Now, younger and more vulnerable demographics definitely fall victim as well. However, a cult leader has to remember that timing both in the world and in a person's own life is everything. The Bible students, before they officially adopted the name Jehovah's Witnesses, attracted people disillusioned with churches, people uncomfortable with the hellfire doctrine, as well as people searching for logical faith. Now, if we fast forward to more modern times, the kinds of people still being reeled into the JW cult are predominantly people in transitional phases of life, such as grief, financial instability, substance abuse, and those searching for purpose. JWs find such recruits through their infamous door-to-door ministry, which has turned in even more recent times to cart witnessing. What this constant exposure to the public does is put them right in the path of people, some who are at their most vulnerable. Once a cult leader finds out who implicitly has their back, they must push the boundary further and further each time. This can be done by playing on their members' faith, obedience, and commitment. Soon enough, followers will be willing to do whatever it takes to stay in their leader's good graces. Not long after the Bible students adopted the name Jehovah's Witnesses, the very structure of the cult came to include commitments that just kept seeming to escalate. Multiple meetings per week where regular attendance was seen as non-negotiable. Preaching requirements, even more so if you were a pioneer or missionary. Behavioral restrictions such as spending time with only other JWs. Not celebrating holidays, not smoking, how you would dress, how you would talk. The list went on. However, the biggest ones were the disfellowshipping arrangement, which meant shunning even family members. No blood transfusions, implicit loyalty to the governing body, and the demand to accept doctrinal changes without question. At this point, obedience became tied to their identity, community, and even survival. So, stepping out of line in even one of those areas quite literally meant risking losing everything. A cult leader must always be the center of attention in their flock. No matter what it takes, their voice must be the loudest one in the room. Jehovah's Witnesses are masters of using loud systems to their advantage. A few that they capitalize on publicly are their global preaching work and literature distribution made possible by their Watchtower, Bible, and Tract Society Corporation. Their JW videos, broadcasts, plus a lot of other digital content. Now internally, there's a constant repetition of their doctrines in their midweek and weekend meetings. One of their favorites on repeat more recently being to avoid anyone who even appears to be questioning, as they could expose you to big, bad, scary apostate material. Discouragement of outside interactions by keeping publishers as busy as possible with meetings, field service. The push for pioneering is strong. Get-togethers, encouraging the brothers to reach out for more privileges, such as being a ministerial servant, an elder, and for the super uber PIMI members, a circuit overseer, or even getting accepted into their headquarters in Bethel. So, with so little time to just breathe, the only consistent voice in members' minds are that of the organization. Starting to believe that Jehovah's Witnesses just might actually be a cult? Just wait till you watch episode 2. And there you have it, my fellow Wordlies. Thank you so much for supporting my page. Please remember to like, comment, follow, share, and don't forget about my YouTube channel. See y'all in the next episode. Whirly Sam, out.